That's what this show is about. It always has been, and it always will be. I got an intro video now because I'm popular or whatever. I got a special engineer behind the decks today, the host of Fight Junkeez, Bobby. Say what's up to the people.
What's going on?
It's his first, like, real engineering gig, start to finish. I think you've just come in for relief.
Yeah.
Some of these other shows.
I support you, George. I support you.
I appreciate your support. You were quick to jump on engineering the show. Austin said, you know what, we're talking about the Raiders today, so fuck it. Like, I don't want to engineer that. But yeah, I'm George Carmona. Follow me at Gridiron Junkeez on all social media platforms. Follow me personally at Mr. George Carmona on Instagram. If you like the content that you're seeing and you would like to continue to see it, our numbers are going up. And the season isn't even happening right now, which proves that, you know, the method that I got cooking here is working. All right, Bob, if you want to tap off that lower third. Boom. And now we can get into today's topic. Today's topic revolves around the most highest paid tight end in the league, Darren Waller. Darren Waller, before last season started, he signed a 4-year, $51 million contract, making him the highest paid tight end in NFL history. Mind you, now, this contract was very warranted, right? Darren Waller, in case you don't know a little bit about his past and his upbringing, you know, he battled with substance abuse very, very hard throughout his early playing career. He was on the road to recovery while still trying to make it into the NFL, which balancing, you know, recovery and life in general is difficult, let alone recovery and playing in the NFL. Bobby hit me with a flex back there. He knows what the hell I'm talking about. And I don't hold this against him as he's progressed throughout his career. Now, I may have made jokes, okay, that I will play the clip that I made the joke on. I got a lot of shit for this clip, Bobby. I myself, you know, I've seen a lot of people who have gone through substance abuse recovery. My fiance worked at a rehab facility for 3 years. So we're very familiar with how, like, much of a toll it takes on a human being. But I will say this. Humor cures a lot. And if you're on the path to recovery at a certain point, you need to be able to laugh at it and experience a little bit of humor behind, like, the person you are now. You're not that person that you once were. And to me, who's a person who's never gone through extreme recovery therapies or anything like that, I've always felt that, you know, the one thing that always makes us feel good at the end of the day is being able to joke, not only about our past, but just about life, right? We can't take life too serious. But anyways, on to the clip. Bobby, if you want to play that clip from the Gridiron Junkeez last season.
Darren Waller is a key here. I haven't seen Waller do anything this year, and he did sit out to get a little bit more money, a lot more money. So earn it, goddammit, earn it.
Give me my fantasy points, goddammit.
Right?
He's fucking just chilling off the perks on the fucking sideline right now, bro.
Big
he
time.
looked blasted last week.
I didn't even see the dude get hurt. All of a sudden, he pulled a hammy, and then he's in street clothes. No, he stole your money.
Street clothes
He
Waller.
took your money, Raiders, and now he's sitting back. He has not done nothing all year.
But my uncle in that video was pretty much explaining the frustrations that all Raider fans felt last year. I mean, they witnessed this man go perennial future superstar to now he's a flat out liability who's holding out for a contract. Now, the saga from Darren Waller, it started when he got the contract, right? Because to become the most highest paid tight end in NFL history, you have to have a proven track record of domination. And he had 2 seasons in which he had 1,000 yards receiving. Not sure on the number of touchdowns, right? But he was a game changer. All right. Him being a game changer led to that contract. But then you start to question, right? Like, how much is George Kittle getting paid? He got $2 more million than George Kittle last year. So put that into perspective. He made more than Travis Kelce last year. So put that into perspective, right? 2 tight ends that I feel are better than Darren Waller. Now, it starts with the contract. He signs for $51 million. He was going to get $17 million for the first year with $2 million of incentives based if he made it to the Pro Bowl, if they made it to the playoffs. He could have made $19 million last year as a tight end. That's fucking crazy. But his season gets halted week 5 versus the Chiefs when he gets hurt. And like my uncle said, I didn't even see the motherfucker get hurt. Right? And it's like, all right, I'm not going to sit here and play a podcast doctor. All right? The man's hurt, the man's hurt. But then you see where the injury happened, week 5, and he doesn't return to play all the way until week 14 on a hamstring injury, right? Which, not saying it doesn't take that long to rehab it, but I've seen people tear their ACLs, Adrian Peterson, and come back in 6 months. All right? So that's like the most extreme injury. Now you see people with amazing medical feats be able to recover in a quicker time than Darren Waller recovered. So after he gets hurt week 5 versus the Chiefs, there's this rumblings of restructuring the contract that he currently has because it was a front-loaded contract and he wanted to find a way to start getting more money on the back end side of the contract. And the Raiders are like slowly starting to realize, holy shit, we made a mistake, right? We paid somebody, way overpaid for a player that at this moment in time, he's been battling injuries beforehand. He had to fight through recovery just to get to the NFL, right? We may have made a mistake. And it was a colossal mistake because although the Raiders did everything in their power to keep Darren Waller happy and on the team and make this deal make sense, they still were screwed on the back end by what I like to call a little bit of love potion number 9 or some shit, right? Instead of, taking the rehab route, finding a way to be like what the Raiders wanted him to be, he takes love potion number 9. He starts going to the Las Vegas Aces games where he then develops a relationship with Kelsey Plum, a Las Vegas Aces. So you have a premier Las Vegas athlete dating a premier Las Vegas athlete. What the fuck could go wrong, right? I'll tell you what can go wrong. It's an injury mixed with a relationship, mixed with Darren Waller doesn't need the NFL in order to validate how far he's come in life. He's battled substance abuse. He's overcome the addiction. So the NFL is just like a cherry on top. And that's the way it seemed like he treated this. He busted his ass to get a big contract. He gets hurt. And now he's on, let me fucking chill in my street clothes on the sidelines type mode. And that's exactly what he did. Not only did he chill on the sideline and with street clothes, there was a podcast called the GM Shuffle, shout out to them, where Michael Lombardi talks about Darren Waller coming back from his injury. If we want to pull up the YouTube clip, let's do a little side-by-side screen here and just go ahead and play that for me.
And then, he didn't really rehab on the bye week. He didn't rehab the hamstring. He kind of wasn't in the program. Let's put it that way. He wasn't in the program. So look, if you're not in the program, we can't force you. So we'll get a 3rd round pick. We'll get somebody who's in the program.
What went wrong? Why do you think that you didn't or at least the Raiders didn't have that buy-in for Waller once Josh McDaniels took over, because that's kind of the discussion, that Waller and McDaniels were never on the same page. They never saw eye to eye. It's been reported out there, but like why do you think there was that disconnect?
Well, I don't think Waller's, like I've said this many times, I think Waller's from a different program, and he's been used to being in a program that he wasn't asked to do with the things they asked in the Patriot program and Josh program. It's not for everybody, and look, Waller was in the program last year with Gruden. He only played 11 games. He averaged 12-1 a catch. He had 2 touchdowns. Like, you want to blame McDaniels for his production? I mean, did McDaniels drop the ball against Tennessee for a touchdown that turned into an interception that lost the game? I don't think so. Like, that play, I think, messed with his psyche a little bit, So it's easy to blame the coach, but when the player's talent doesn't come to the field, at some point you got to say, wait a minute, trust what you see. As Parcells often says, is when the player shows you his, believe him. It's easy to blame, it's so easy. These people just blame the coach, blame the coach. Well,
so Michael Lombardi, this is a great, by the way, everybody, everything that I have stated so far in this podcast, it came from an article written by Jordan Renan from ESPN. And it was interesting. He linked Michael Lombardi talking about Waller in this podcast. And so, Michael Lombardi, his son is associated with the Raiders. And so he has a pretty good understanding of when he said Darren Waller chose not to rehab his leg on the bye week. And he chose to take the fines. And he told the Raiders, I will take fines for me not coming to rehab. What that shouts to me is a player that sipped love potion number 9, mixed with I beat recovery. The NFL is the cherry on top. I really don't need this. Mixed with I'm not being utilized the way I was utilizing a system before. Mixed with if I don't get what I want, I'm just not going to show up. All those things right there are the reason why the Raiders thought about trading him before the trade deadline last year. And this just came out in reports in that article that I am quoting from, but they had rumors, or it was rumors confirmed, that Green Bay and Miami were both trying to get Darren Waller before the trade deadline last year. Now, crazy, right? You go from being the highest paid tight end in NFL history to you may be traded that same exact year because of what's going on outside the field. That love potion number 9, right? Kelsey Plum, fine. Like Nick Diaz would say, she's a great girl, right? She's top notch, right? So I don't blame him for being struck by the love bug, but he took it to like the nth degree, right? If you're not rehabbing and you're out chasing pussy, you're not going to be ever paid that rate again. Now, if he does overperform for the Giants, let's say for 2 straight years, and we're looking at a contract restructure, they're going to come back and watch this episode of Gridiron Junkeez, in which I'm outlining that this man has way more going on off the field than he does in potential on the field success. And he's not worth that money. And he's kind of hurt the tight end market now for the next 3 to 5 years. This is typical when one of these players who breaks contract records ends up flopping. You see like this little bit of hesitancy where it's like, oh shit, maybe we shouldn't pay him as much. But I do hope that Darren Waller finds great success playing for the Giants. And I'm going to leave it with this. If Darren Waller was to become the leading receiver for tight ends next year and the leading touchdown scorer for tight ends next year, he is going to make all of the journalists like me fucking swallow their words. But I'm confident enough to say that Darren Waller is completely content with what he's put out there for his career, what he's earned, and where his life's headed. He's got a great gal who's going to be a perennial WNBA superstar. I don't think him, like, he wants to be that stud tight end again. I really do. I saw nothing but a content person for the last year after he's gotten paid. It reminds me a lot of a fucking receiver that the Saints signed, and Michael Thomas, who's had a case of, you know, the bad injury luck, and then the slow rehabbing, and I'm getting paid later on in my contract anyway, so why do I need to try now? It feels a lot like that to me. And it'll be, this is like a who won the breakup story, right? Did Darren Waller win the breakup story leaving the Raiders, or did the Raiders cash out by getting a 3rd round pick from the Giants, in which draft picks lately, I mean, this is me projecting my hate for the draft a little bit, but there was a guy in the studio the other day talking about the draft wins the season. Like, we're approaching who's going to win the season right now on April 27th and April 28th when they draft these players. To which I'm always like, bro, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, we don't know whoever wins the draft until 2 years down the road anyways. And you're like, oh, that player panned out, that player didn't pan out. So that's why I'm like, as of right now, even if the Raiders were to pick up a stud for that 3rd round pick, we wouldn't know if they won the breakup necessarily for 2 years, unless Darren Waller's it next year, and he's way more invested in his off the field life than he is on the field life. That's George's thoughts. Do I think he can get to those record-setting levels that would warrant him being one of the greatest tight ends of all time? I think the time has passed. I think he's a great athlete. I think he can prove to be a great decoy for that Giants offense, splitting the seam, right? Causing havoc at that tight end position. You better be really fucking good at blocking, all right? Because Saquon's getting a lot of carries. Okay, so you're not going to be as route running little guy that you were for the Raiders. I think you got to bulk up a little bit. But other than that, the last little piece of news that I wanted to leave you guys with today, and this is probably going to be my second clip. Lamar Jackson does not want to play for the Ravens this season, and he double doesn't want to play with the Ravens this season as much now that OBJ is signed. If we saw what we saw at that club video, and it reigns true, right? OBJ and Lamar go to the club the day that OBJ signs. I saw a Lamar Jackson that did not want to be at the club. I saw Lamar Jackson that was looking at the person he's going to be throwing it to and being like, damn, we got the most diva of all diva wide receivers. This man drug me to a club. If you think Lamar Jackson was the one that planned that club outing that night, you're clinically insane. Okay, OBJ was like, bro, going to the club. Let me fly you out. We're going to get the bottles. Boom, the sign, the girls. Woo, OBJ and Lamar, woo. All these girls that don't give a flying fuck about football cheering for you. I could see it in Lamar's face like, oh, bro, this is going to end up on TMZ. Why am I? Like, we could have played golf. We could have went fishing. We could have done something that isn't just fucking struggling to understand each other at a club 2 feet away from each other. It was a Lamar that was not excited, right? And I'm going to stay on this train because I believe Lamar when he said, I want to be traded from the Ravens. And don't think that because we toss OBJ to the Ravens and we overpay the shit out of OBJ, that that's going to make Lamar want to stay. It's not. He said it himself. He wants out. If Lamar's a man of his word, he will not play next season. The Ravens will. So in order for him to get traded, he will have to sign to the Ravens. but it's just a Le'Veon Bell situation. I'm going to sign for you. But then, just like Darren Waller said, fucking find me. Keep finding me. Find me again. I'm not showing up. Trade me. I don't want to play for this team. Doesn't matter if you gave me OBJ. The dude took me to a club, and I'm not a club-going guy. Look how upset I am. All right. All that being said, if you like Gridiron Junkeez and you want to see some more Gridiron Junkeez content, we got a action-packed rest of the year. I've spent this past week thinking about how am I going to attack next football season? One, a lot more travel vlogs go into some of these games. Two, me and Nick Days. If you haven't seen Nick Days from the Veterans Minimum, we've got some things cooking up possibly for a lot of Monday night games travel vlogs. That would be sick. All that being said, if you keep following, subscribing Gridiron Junkeez, we will make it to that next level so that I can get this shit paid for, give you guys the content that you guys have been craving for. And yeah, Bobby, thank you for engineering. You did a great job. I think, Bobby, if I'm going to give you a grade, a player grade today, you probably got a 7 out of 10.
Wow.
We left the lower third up there a little too long. You weren't frazzled.
That's generous, though.
You weren't frazzled. That's the reason why you're getting a 7 out of 10, because you weren't frazzled when we had some multi-view issues, but you figured it out.
I think because we're not live, but
You figured it out today.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Make sure you guys follow Fight Junkeez as well. They're going live every Monday, every Thursday, recapping what the fuck's going on in the MMA world, mainly focusing on UFC. But they touch on everything. All that being said, the way we're going to end this, Bobby, is you're just going to tap that intro again, and we are out of here.